You know, a lot of times you worry about Fernandez or somebody else so much that you neglect the other receivers, and Armour went right down the seam and got open.
Well, the British Columbia Lions have the talent to burn you with a number of people if you try and focus all of your attention on Swervin Mervin. Vince Faison on the kickoff return. Jamie Buis was the man who tripped him up at the 32-yard line. The fans reacting here at Olympic Stadium as Turner Gill continues at quarterback. They've jumped on him early in this ball game, somewhat unfairly, I think.
Well, that's a tough thing for a kid that comes out that's much sought after out of college. As we alluded to many times during the season, it takes 5 years to build a quarterback, and you're not going to do it overnight. And when they make all that money and they don't produce right away, the fans are tough on them.
Terry Lyman caught right at the line of scrimmage by Mac Moore.
You know, Don, we were talking to Coach Gallatin. He said he wanted to run the football against the Lions. Well, you've got to gain yards when you run the football. Now, that's about 4 times they've run. I think they've got a total of 2 yards.
You know the thing, though, Rod, about running the football against the Lions, the only way you're going to run it, I think, is on a sprint draw, because they're going to be playing Gill for a rollout or a sprint out one way or the other, and then you can hand off on that. But on a straight handoff, that BC defensive line is just too tough to run on. They don't give up the rush lanes.
Sure don't.
Gill passing complete for the first down on the far side of the field to Todd Brown, and he was driven back, but his forward progress had carried up to the 44. He was hit by Tyrone Cruz and Mel Bird.
The point that I was making there is the defensive line, they'll deliver a blow on a running play and hold their ground and play it about as well as you can. On a sprint pass or on a rollout pass, they'll start deviating their path and try to get to the quarterback to cut him off. That's when you can hand off to a fullback on a draw or something like this and get some opening on the rush lanes.
Turner Gill rolling out, running with the football. He finds a good opening. First down as he gets down to the 40-yard line, and that will take some of the fans who have been critical of him off his back.
Well, that's what Glatt said earlier. They was actually going to run a quarterback option, and this is Turner Gill's offense. Watch him, a little belly fake, and now it's him in the back. He cuts in, gets a lot of running room, and that's the only way you can sometimes get a quarterback to run with the football. Call it a run, tell them there's no receivers, and there aren't any on that when they're down there blocking. That's a good job.
As Gallatt said, maybe I'll have to tell the receivers to fall down so that he'll be forced to run with the football. First and 10 from the 40-yard line. Rolling to his right this time, throwing deep into the end zone. Oh, he had the man wide open, and he overthrew Don Newman.
Well, Don Newman was definitely behind everybody. He had beat Darnell Clash to the post, and Nelson Martin was nowhere to be found, and he just couldn't get it to him.
There's also a penalty flag on the play. It appears to be a rough play call against the BC Lions.
Well, that'll make him feel a little bit better.
Unnecessary roughness, BC 28, first down.
Larry Crawford guilty of the rough play call. That makes it a first down at the 25-yard line. Lorne Woods is the man in charge of the officials this afternoon, refereeing this ball game. We have 2 minutes and 8 seconds remaining in this opening quarter. It's a 14-3 game in favor of the BC Lions, but the Montreal Concordes are threatening here.
Here comes the quarterback on that run right now with the option.
It looked as though he was going to pitch out to Dwayne Wilson, but he was hit by Glenn Jackson and James Parker.
Well, it doesn't take that BC Lions long to adjust. Here's the fake in here to the backfield with the option of the pitch coming out here, but you don't see it yet, but Crawford was right on the pitch, man. There was just nobody to pitch to, and he had to eat the ball.
Exactly right, the halfback, Larry Crawford, got into that backfield. If he pitches it, he'll make the tackle for loss. Force the quarterback to run, and then knock the heck out of the quarterback.
That was a quick adjustment because they haven't seen Montreal run this offense, but they did it in a hurry.
Second and 10. Pass to Dwayne Wilson. He'll be about a yard, maybe 2 yards shy of the first down. Decision time now for Joe Gallatt. It will be third and 2. Dwayne Wilson indicates to the bench that they should be going for it. Kenny Ferdinand is going to come into the ball game, and Terry Lyman likely will come out.
Well, it's at this stage of the ball game, they've got plenty of time left to get back in the game. They've got 2.5 yards to go for a first down. Joe Gallant definitely should kick the field goal. He's being dictated by the crowd, Ron.
Yeah,
Full house backfield with Harold Bailey coming out of the ball game with Denny Ferdinand in.
You got 2 yards to go. That's tough.
Turner Gill gets the first down as he scurries to the 10-yard line.
Well, he made it look easy. He made the fake and then followed the back. Cut well inside. That play's designed to go outside, but I'll tell you one thing. He took what he saw and cut right up inside. Watch the quick fake.
Well, he's done this so much in college where he looks to the inside and sees that opening and gets it. But it's still, regardless of the effects of the play, regardless of getting the first down, take the 3 points when you can get it, especially in the first quarter.
Well, that was a case of Denny Ferdinand throwing the block on James Parker that opened that hole for quarterback Turner Gill.
That's what did it. There's no doubt about that.
Turner Gill had some difficulty in the exchange from center, throwing into the end zone for Todd Brown, incomplete. There's also a penalty flag on the play. I'm certain it will be a procedure call against the Montreal Concord.
Oh, I think so. Everybody was gone but the center.
That's
He still
right.
had the ball in his hands.
Everybody wanted to be in the play, and the center said, we haven't snapped the ball yet. You got to come back here, but it's too late.
And that's the end of the first quarter. So the Montreal Concord will be looking at 2nd and 10 when we return to Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Well, to use the old phrase, statistics are for losers. The Montreal Concord have the better stats, but the British Columbia Lions lead by 14-3. It's 2nd and 10 from the 11-yard line. Turner Gill rolling out again. He'll run the ball. He may get into the end zone. He'll score.
They gave up contained completely on the outside. The linebacker dropped off, and the defensive end just didn't get there, and he just had a cakewalk right into the end zone.
Well, I'll tell you, he did another thing, too. He got outside the container, and then he motioned deep. Watch him just wave his left hand as he gets outside to the left. Once he clears that last guy, he'll wave it, and then he just runs. He pumps that ball. They don't know whether he's going to throw it or not, and they can't come up as long as he's behind the line, and then he only had a 10-yard run.
Andre Jones was forced to drop back with the receiver when he pumped deep, and he had that clear sailing into the end zone.
Made it look easy.
The point after by Don Sweet, and suddenly the Montreal Concord are back in the ball game. I thought for a moment when the BC Lions scored those 2 quick touchdowns that they might just turn this one into a rout. But now the Montreal Concord are trailing by just 4.
Well, that's the guy that has to get it done for him. You see the good block. He gets outside of Parker, fakes it once, and then just jogs into the end zone.
Well, the one thing that the BC Lions have to do when they play against the Concord is to take care of the outside and make sure that the quarterback can't sprint out or roll out, and that's just the one thing that they're not doing. Because he's not going to drop back and kill you. He doesn't have the experience to read the defenses that well. They're not going to kill you with the running game on the inside. So the one thing they've got to stop is the outside rolls. Let that quarterback get outside of contain.
Don Matthews looking at this ball game as perhaps a stepping stone to first place in the Western Conference. It appears as though it will come down to a showdown with Winnipeg on the 27th of October, the final home game for the BC Lions. They would also like to maintain that 1-game advantage over Winnipeg heading into that game. Darnell Clash from the 5-yard line on this kickoff return. And Clash is contained at the 25-yard line, driven back by Harry Skipper and Frank Kosek. The BC Lions, under Roy DeWalt's direction, have just 2 first downs, but they also have 2 touchdowns on the board. We're just underway in the second quarter. 14-10 is the score in favor of British Columbia. Mervyn Fernandez comes out wide to the right. He's being covered over there by Harry Skipper. They attempt to set up the screen. It's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. It was deflected at the line of scrimmage by Paul Martin. That's the second time that in dropping back to pass, DeWalt in the first quarter and again here in the second has had a pass knocked down by a hard-charging defensive lineman.
What they do is they bring him across the formation and they get a lot of heat, and then he runs on it. There's a lot of room right here, but the ball gets knocked down by Martin. There's nowhere to throw it.
Back to the live action. John Pointer makes the hit. The ball is fumbled, recovered by the BC Lions.
Oh boy, that was a real break for the BC Lions because Pointer was in there on top of the football and didn't stay on it. The ball was kicked away from him and the BC Lions got it back.
Al Wilson, the center, dropped back to recover. Watch the hit off Pointer from the blind side, and that pops the ball away from Roy DeWalt, and it was almost picked up by Martin, but getting back, Al Wilson to cover up a big break there for the BC Lions. On third down now, they are kicking from the goal area, but that could have been a Montreal first down just outside the 10. Preston Young takes the ball at the midfield stripe, and he fights his way out to the 53 of the BC Lions. And that's where the Montreal Concorde will scrimmage 1st and 10 when we return to Olympic Stadium. Winding up this weekend's activity in the Canadian Football League. Tomorrow at CNE Stadium in Toronto, the Argonauts entertain the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And the Montreal Concorde, trailing by just 4, have it 1st and 10 at the 53 of the BC Lions. And Turner Gill, the young quarterback out of Nebraska, doing a good job on the last series running with that football. And Ron, that's what Joe Galat has been stressing to his young quarterbacks, Gill and Steve Smith, in the past couple of games, but they have not been executing.
Well, you know, you spend so much time on the passing game because it is important. They're young quarterbacks. They need to understand defenses. But a lot of times, then they forget that they can run with the football. And you know they did run with the football in college. There's no doubt about that. But they just get out of that habit of running, and sometimes you just got to call it to get them back into that habit. Tell them they have to run, period. Don't give them a choice.
That was Galat's big concern, getting those quarterbacks running with the ball. He's got Wayne Wilson running with it now. He won't go anywhere. He's thrown out of bounds by Larry Crawford.
That's that sweep off that bootleg series that they've had success with earlier in the season, but they didn't fool anybody from the BC Lions on that occasion.
Well, Kevin Konar got over there along with Crawford, and the two of them were just waiting on him when he turned the corner.
On 2nd and long, the BC Lions will go with 6 defensive backs as Ed Jones comes into the backfield. Over the middle, should be a first down depending on where they mark it. The catch made by Harold Bailey. Talk about young quarterbacks. Harold Bailey was a quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, drafted by the Houston Oilers. He played there as a receiver. Initially, he was sought by the BC Lions as a quarterback in 79-80. When Bobby Ackles, the general manager, was looking for a quarterback, he was negotiating with both Roy DeWalt and with Bailey. Oklahoma State product Bailey chose instead to go to the NFL, and Roy DeWalt wound up as the BC quarterback. A 1st and 10 situation from the 43. Benny Ferdinand picks up a couple of yards as he is in there in place of Terry Lyman.
Boy, they're tough from tackle to tackle.
That pass to Bailey, Turner Gill got it there, but if you think about it and seen how fast he delivered that football, he let it go in a hurry, because if he comes back to that, he better be careful if Kevin Konar got there just a step late. And you're throwing back against the flow, that linebacker will get underneath that hook, but he threw it so quick he couldn't get there that time. Just be careful with it.
2nd and 8 for the Montreal Concorde from the 40-yard line. Gill's pass for Iraqi off his hands, and the big receiver had a very vital first down had he been able to squeeze that one, but you can't fault the quarterback on that throw. That ball was delivered well.
Well, my first reaction is off his gloves.
Off his gloves.
You know, get those gloves off and catch the football. Watch, the ball is there, and Iraqi's got both hands on it and comes off of there, and it, as you say, it takes a big first down away from him.
You've never been convinced that those receivers should be wearing gloves, particularly at this time of year, have you?
No, I'm not even in the winter time. I'm not convinced you need gloves.
Well, while you guys have been doing all that talking, I've been doing a little figuring here.
A 47-yard field goal attempt by Sweet is good, and that makes it a one-point ball game. 14-13, the BC Lions leading the Montreal Concorde with 11:09 remaining in the half.
Our thinking here has changed from let's get a lot out to let's get the best out.
At Ford, we've made quality job one. We're producing the highest quality of all major North American manufacturers.
I've owned a lot of cars in my lifetime, but this Tempo has to have the best quality and workmanship of any car that I've ever seen.
Driving is believing.
Better and better, see what we've done at Ford. Quality is job one.
Ford, I'm a believer.
Well, there are 4 games on the schedule next week. Edmonton at Ottawa, Winnipeg at Montreal, and we've got 2 on the CBC television network. Saskatchewan at British Columbia Saturday night. Sunday afternoon, Calgary visits Hamilton. The BC Lions have opted to have the Montreal Concorde kick off after that successful Don Sweet field goal. The kicking game has posed something of a problem for the Montreal Concorde all year. Jerry McGrath handles the kickoff chores. Don Sweet handles the placement assignments. And McGrath also looks after the punting game. This is one area that the Concorde would like to improve.
Well, as I was saying quite some time back, while you guys were talking, I was doing some figuring, and the Montreal offensive line averages 268 points, or pounds, I should say, where the BC Lions are 267. And those are 2 big offensive lines.
Darnell Clash trying to get outside, and he is forced out of bounds at the 38-yard line. There's no doubt they both have some size up front along those offensive lines. You take a look at Miles Garrell, for example, of the Montreal Concorde, 6'8", 300 pounds.
He's the biggest one of the bunch. But both lines are averaging right in there at 270 pounds. That's as big as you'll find them any place, and they can. Both lines can move. They both have great agility for big guys.
1st and 10. The ball is placed at the 39-yard line. DeWalt complete to Tolaumu, and he struggles fighting his way out to the 47-yard line. He isn't going to take the easy route and go out of bounds. He struggled for the additional yardage trying to get that 1st down.
He likes contact. I just think back to that game when Montreal played him out in the Dome at BC Place. He made a great run on a 2nd down 10 situation on a little swing pass on the short side. He must have run over 7 guys, gained 16 yards. He's not going to run out.
His big trouble might be that he'll hunt somebody up to run over rather than run around somebody. He likes that.
2nd and 2. And have they got it? It's going to be close. Tolaumu again carrying the ball. Now, normally he wears number 27. However, his jersey was stolen from the BC Lion dressing room, so as a result, he had to wear number 25 for this afternoon's game. It may be close enough for a measurement. Something unusual in that both these teams employ 2 import running backs. Most teams in the CFL go with an import and a Canadian running back, juggling their import Canadian ratio and trying to move people around. But when you have some outstanding Canadian receivers, you can make some changes.
They put their number 1 quarterback sneaker in, the BC Lions. Tim Cowan at quarterback.
That's something Cowan does very well. On 3rd and less than a yard, he drives straight ahead, and he has the 1st down. He had to get close to that 50-yard line, and I think they'll mark the ball close enough to give him the 1st down, although perhaps we've called this one somewhat prematurely, as they are calling for a measurement. And let's see where they do place this football.
Oh, mackerel. He didn't get anywhere near it.
He may not have made it. The placement of the football is vital here, and I don't think, no, he did not make it. Well, initially it looked as though his forward progress had carried up close to the 50-yard line, but the Montreal Concorde, as Al Wilson attempts to argue the point.
Watch Gray come in right there, the linebacker, and he really put a hit on Cowan and stopped that momentum right now, but you know, just comes down to the referee spotting the football. They missed it by an inch. They didn't miss it by very much, but an inch or a yard, it doesn't matter. It's Montreal's ball.
Well, Paul Gray, Paul Martin, and Doug Scott in the middle plug things up for the Montreal Concorde, and they take over. On first down, Denny Ferdinand trying to hit off tackle. He has a couple of yards. It will be 2nd and 8. It's 14-13. The BC Lions in front with 9:20 remaining in this first half.
You know, you were talking about the 2 import running backs. I know that Joe Galat would like to have that number 34 Ferdinand in there more, but he has had that injury problem, and when he's 100%, he can do a great job for them.
Well, their average running from tackle to tackle is nil against this big BC Lion defense, so they ought to try on first down a play-action pass and see if they can loosen it up a little bit.
Turner Gill is in trouble. Big loss back to the 47-yard line. You can go to the well only so often against the BC Lions, and that time it was James Parker and Tyrone Cruz who brought him down.
Well, if you watch the top of the screen this way, now the linebackers just start to circle. They all blitz at him and force him up. He tries to run out. There's nowhere really to run because they get him pinned into the pocket. You see that linebacker going outside. Now he wants to get out of that pressure, but they're free back there. There's nowhere for him to run. Once that pocket starts to collapse, you're in trouble.
Now, when you get it cut down from the outside and get the pressure coming up from the inside, there's no room in the end.
Mac Moore is the injured BC Lion. He appears to be in considerable pain as they check his right knee. Texas A&M product who signed with the Lions in 1981 has been a key man in that defensive unit that has been one of the most effective in the entire league. (14-13) is the score. Statistically, as you take a look at the top passers in the CFL, Dieter Brock, in terms of yardage, leads the way. Tom Clements of Winnipeg is in 3rd spot with Roy DeWalt 2nd, but Clements has the best percentage, completing better than 65% of his passes. Dieter Brock of the Hamilton Tiger Cats has completed 58% of his passes, but Brock this year has had 18 passes picked off.
Turnover will get you. Fumbles, interceptions, and like losing the ball on downs is even a turnover. You don't want to do that too often.
3rd down punt by McGrath. Mel Bird runs it back out to the 27-yard line. A 46-yard kick by Jerry McGrath. So the BC Lions take over 1st and 10 with 8:28 remaining in this first half.
And from CFL Control in Toronto, coming up at halftime, Barb McLeod talks with Lions guard Glenn Leonard. All of the first half highlights. We'll see Calgary's come from behind win over the Ottawa Roughriders. Right now, back to Don Whitman in Montreal.
1st and 10 for the BC Lions at the 27-yard line. They quickly jumped in front 14-3, but Montreal came back with a touchdown and a field goal.
Well, they're in the ball game. You know, they did come back. They got down 14-3, and you know, a lot of times when you're a young team or you got the team like BC, they're the kind of team when they get you down, they kick you. But the Concordes have come back, and they really have a pretty good control of this football game. They've got more control than BC does right now.
DeWald on 1st down, throwing to the sidelines. Pankratz, no catch. His foot had stepped across the line. There was no doubt about that. And the official on the sideline called it immediately.
That was a great call by the official because when the ball was on its way, Pankratz did have his foot on the line, and the first thing that hit the ground was out of bounds.
It's 2nd and 10 for the Lions. They are at their own 26-yard line. Now Montreal with 6 defensive backs as Preston Young comes into the ball game. Over the middle for Robinson, incomplete. He was cut down by Aaron Hill. Robinson, the ex-Montreal Concorde, who indicated that he wanted to prove something against his former employees. And that time it was Aaron Hill who proved the point, coming in to cut down Robinson on the pass.
Well, what they're doing is they're so concerned with Fernandez outside, they're dropping Aaron Hill back to help out, and that opened the seam for Robinson. He should have caught that football. All Hill can do is come back to it after it's in the air.
3rd and 10 as the Concorde come up strong defensively, forcing the BC Lions into another kicking situation. 7:46 remaining in this first half. Good boot by Lou Pasaglia. It chases Preston Young back to the 30-yard line. He is downed at the 37. A run back of 7 yards after a 53-yard kick by Lou Pasaglia. The Montreal Concorde coming into this ball game with a record of 3-6. The BC Lions 8 wins and 1 loss, the best overall record in the entire Canadian Football League. Turner Gill, the rookie out of the University of Nebraska, continuing to direct the attack. Harold Bailey comes out and Denny Ferdinand is in a full house backfield. Randy Fournier is playing that defensive tackle position in place of the injured Mac Moore for the BC Lions. There's the option and the pitch to Dwayne Wilson, close to the first down, out to the 47-yard line. Well, so far, Turner Gill is following the